good, it's working. Okay. Okay, I think I'm pretty good to go. Let's go ahead and get started. It's about 3 minutes in. You guys got to see my shirt. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get this show rolling. Hello. I'm going to continue working on my Stinky boys. I'm having a lot of fun painting these guys, and I really love just how obnoxiously bright they're turning out. So that's going to be the goal, is to continue working on them, continue making them brighter and more obnoxious, and hopefully by the time I get to the last one, he's going to be ridiculous, and he's also going to get a much nicer paintbrush. But I suppose we will see. Hopefully. Oh, I hit the camera again. So I moved the camera back, and it's giving me a much better angle, but it's like right over my head. And so every now and then I'm bonking it, which is a little bit amusing, but at the same time, very annoying. So I'm going to try not to do that as often as possible. I'm going to mix up some more of my paint using my my vortex mixer. I'm going to move that out of the way because it really doesn't need to be here. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. When I left off, these characters had gotten, I believe, their orange layer. And I was going to move on next to their bright orange / ice yellow layer. And then eventually up to ice yellow. And once that happens, I'll just be putting on these little finishing touches that are going to hopefully read as very bright on the Mini. But I suppose we will see in a minute. So here's our dude now. And see, like, this angle is much better. I can hold him a whole lot more comfortably. The light is definitely doing a better job angling onto him. In fact, you can kind of see it just above on the camera. right up there. But yeah, so that's what's going to be the goal today, is to continue working on the brass trim, the corroded rust trim, and then probably the tentacles next. And then after that, I think it's going to be time to move into doing the cloak and the cloth. I don't know. We'll find out. Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Sindarius? Good to see you. How are you doing? I am going to be streaming possibly... Actually, no, I can't stream any later because I have Baldur's Gate with some friends at around 7-ish. But until then, I'm going to see what I can do with this guy. Yeah, how's your day been? How have things been with you? Yeah, that's going to be a good color. At least I think it is. Starting to get to the point now where I have to be very selective of what I want to highlight. Going alright, just putting together some sisters, otherwise got home from work and finally got my state return. That's awesome. Hopefully you'll be able to put that money to a good cause one way or another. I haven't filed yet because my wife is waiting for a tax document that her current employer is supposed to get her. And once that comes in, once she gets that, then we can go ahead and file. But I think all of that tax money is going to have to go towards taxes. Like my insurance and my personal property taxes. But yeah, if you don't mind sharing, and if any of that money is free, do you have any big plans for it? Got any ideas for what you want to do with the money the government owed you? Plan is one of two things. Ooh, do tell. I also found this, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's just kind of like a chill early 90s, late 80s hip-hopified Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack that I'm pretty sure I can use for stream. 1 put 200 to a legal name change done since it's a $195 filing fee. Ooh, very cool, very cool. That's I was talking to my wife about that a couple of days ago, like what we would name our kids, and just as a reminder, told her that, you know, they may not end up liking their name when they get older, and they may want to legally change it. So don't get too attached to the name, or put some towards my loan to pay it off sooner and start a custodian's army. So you're going to pay off one loan and then immediately throw yourself into another. Just kidding. 40k is not that expensive. Yeah, at some point I've got to finish putting together or painting my Custodes army, because I've mentioned it before, but I have a combat patrol that's at this point kind of sitting like a third done, because I bought them specifically to practice non-metallic metal, and I was definitely not good enough to practice non-metallic metal. So they kind of became my training wheels. And so a lot of that army is wildly incomplete, as I would get frustrated and not want to work on it. Though I will say, especially now that I'm getting better, for you it's your last name, not want it to be, since fair enough. Yeah, so you're looking to change last name for personal reasons. That's absolutely fair. But yeah, I might end up going back to that Custodes army, because I never finished it, and a lot of it was due to frustration, due to my lack of skill. And now that I'm clearly a little better than I used to be, I might go ahead and go back and actually, you know, make them look real good. To do that, I'm probably going to have to strip all of them, because they're kind of blocky and chunky with their non-metallic metal armor. So I want to go back. I want to go back and make them look real good, and then potentially, honestly, sell them, because I have no inclinations to play a Custodes army at any point. And they're that weirdly unbalanced combat patrol that doesn't quite play well as a combat patrol. So who knows? Who knows what I'm going to do with those guys? Like I've had the bikes just kind of sitting primed brown without heads for quite a while now, and every time I look at them on my display cabinet, I feel just a little bit guilty about it. So I'm gonna probably try and finish them off once I clear my painting queue. Which honestly might never happen. But I mean, something I heard a while ago, because you know, there's a lot of people who have piles of shame, and they're either embarrassed by it or they kind of flex that their pile of shame is so big. Is that, you know, if people can have bookshelves full of books that they haven't read yet, why can't we have shelves full of models we haven't put together yet? And that wasn't necessarily it's the exact same, see? But it definitely gave me a little bit more perspective on having a large queue of models to paint. You had the idea of making a small army of Custodes because they're cheap. Yeah, you definitely get a lot of bang for your buck with them points-wise. I believe... I know Auspex Tactics just recently did a video, but I believe the Combat Patrol by itself is like almost 700 points. Because it's 10 Sisters of Silence, and 5 guards, 5 Custodian Guard, and 3 Virtus Praetors, the bikes. So you can do quite a bit with that. And if you buy like 2 of them and then, you know, a set of Terminators or something, you're pretty good. You're not quite to 2,000, but you're darn close. Evening, Red, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm not on my way out as you enter the chat. I got a little bit of an early head start, I guess? Yeah, a little bit of an early head start. And, I'm just gonna keep working on this guy. Gonna try and get his trim all gussied up so that he looks really nice and bright. And then... we're gonna see what we can do about the rest of his power scythe. And then possibly the tentacles. Who knows? So how have things been going for you, Red? I was able to apply for a couple of jobs that were entry level, so I'm a little more confident about hearing back. All good, thanks. Nearly hit the 50 mark. How's yourself? Pretty okay. Still gainfully unemployed, but continuing along with my studies. And went ahead and actually applied for unemployment, which is something I probably should have done when I first, you know, separated from my job. Also, the funny idea of making a bike-heavy Custodes army to be a Kuckelchuck, that would have been a better idea in 9th, back when their salvo launchers were a little more powerful. But now they're not strong enough to do much. Like, they're still cool, but they're overcosted, and they can't damage heavier targets very well. At least that's my understanding. But yeah, I probably should have applied for unemployment benefits as soon as I left my job. But I didn't, and so I did that today and realized that I'm not an ideal candidate for it, but I'm definitely not a bad one. I'm right there where I'm looking for work. I'm in training to move to another career choice. All that fun stuff. You're not a meta chaser, so it sounds fun. Well, if it sounds fun, then do it. I always have that weird thing of like, and I think it's just because a friend who I played with very frequently, he was in that weird place where he wasn't a meta chaser. He wanted to do on-theme things, but he wanted them to still be effective. After all, you play Imperial Fists and Guardsmen. Yeah, didn't Guardsmen have like 2 seconds last edition where they were actually competitive, and then something happened to them, and then they were garbage again? But then again, the whole point of the Guardsmen is that, you know, do not go quietly into that good night. So, playing as the Guardsman is really meant to be a lost cause, I guess. Okay. And Imperial Fists are just too stubborn to change. And that's kind of the fun of it. But you are painting some Sisters, right? So you're looking to getting into Sisters of Battle, which I think is a good choice because the Sisters are freaking awesome. And honestly, if I had more time and money, that's where I would go to. They're going to be one of my armies. They got their codex when everyone complained that they had a lot of silly combos. I mean, that's... I don't know, just give them their flowers, man. Let the Guardsmen have fun. They've had a terrible army and a terrible codex since, like, midway through 8th edition, and they've been awful all of 9th, and then they get a codex, and so they're not allowed to be good for 2 seconds. Still prefer the old guard. Yeah. The new ones are definitely have their fans and their critics. They never exceeded 50% for a long time. Yeah, and that was kind of the thing, is that they've always been very middling. They've never dominated in the same way that, like, Admech did at one point, and Dark Eldar did, and Eldar did in this edition. Though actually it looks like Eldar have finally been taken down a peg, which I guess is kind of nice. Okay, this is way too bright. So I don't know. I think to some extent that Games Workshop is right to not listen to the player base, because they are extremely good at taking something that's a mild inconvenience and turning it into a calamity. As for the Sisters, my roommate gave me of extra Sisters he hadn't painted, so I'm assembling the latest box and get ready to batch. The last box, then getting ready to batch paint. Well, I hope you have fun. I've always had a lot of fun painting Sisters, and aesthetically, they're probably my favorite army. So, I've got me a set, because I bought a set of just Battle Sisters for funsies, and then I bought some Repentia because they were usable in Kill Team at the time, which is what I was playing with friends. And then I bought a knee pads and push fit. Don't do it for me. Not much for conversions now. Yeah, I don't know how their arms fit together, how monopose they are, but the knee pads do look really doofy, and I think they kind of ruin the silhouette of them. But that's purely my opinion. You're gonna go with pink armor? I think pink armor would look good on the Sisters. Like, I had thoughts of building a Sisters of Battle army, and then budget got in the way, so that never happened. And then, what was it? And so I was never able to, and I just kind of put that project to the side. And then Rogue Trader came out, and I kind of fell in love with Argenta because she's a stone cold badass. And so it was like, I really need to make a Sisters army. I've always wanted one. I should just go ahead and make one. And then, you know, the job transition happened, so now I'm just completely out of money. But that's okay. Hopefully I will have more. The thing is that Guard is always going to be adaptable, hence they'll never truly be trashed here if people overreact when Guard has decent rules. Yeah. I do kind of like that about them, that they've got a large enough catalog that they can kind of deal with most problems, even if it's not, you know, completely blanking them. I also kind of love that they got an unofficial game in Helldivers, which I think is absolutely fantastic. As soon as I have some kind of flexible income, that's going to be one of the first things I buy for myself, is I really want to give Helldivers a try. That game just looks like such a hoot. I don't know if you guys heard, but Helldivers actually has a game master named Joel, I think, who is basically coordinating and overseeing like a big game board of the campaigns and what's going on there, and they're the ones sending off and spawning the enemies. I think I told you, hope they'll be posting pictures of the bears in April. Yeah, and that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see them. I also like the sisters' knee pads. Adds a medieval knight look to them, so having this weird power armored knight feel. Yeah, aesthetically, that's part of why they're so great. They've managed to marry like the medieval with the futuristic in like a really cool techno-punky way, and I think that silhouette just works perfectly, and that design choice just works perfectly for the sisters. So I've got no further edits to make on them. They're pretty perfect as they are. And I kind of love how even with the new sculpts, they didn't change much about them. They just, you know, made them more proportionate and less stumpy. Though admittedly, the stump has some really nice appeal too. I love the nostalgia of their original models. I don't love that I just whacked the microphone with my head. So I'm kind of scared to touch it now. Yeah, the helmets are like the late 1500s salads. Exactly. They've got this crazy combination of things that doesn't look like it should work, but it does. And I love it to death. And then they've got, you know, the cathedral look going on with their tanks and their transports. Everything about the sisters just tickles all the good notes for me, and I love them. I love that somehow they're in the same world as, you know, the World War I era themed Imperial Guard. And then, you know, like the Tyranids and everything else. They just don't look like they belong, but yet they do. Or they don't sound like they should belong, and yet they do. And that's neat. So I'm going to be all in on the sisters once I get a chance to. I think by the time I finish with what I want, and that's kind of what drew me to this game and keeps me coming back, is that at no point am I ever actually going to be able to fulfill my like goals for the hobby, just because I'm so priced out of it. Like being able to do it at in a realistic time frame. But the fact that I can be like, okay, I want to collect this one army and I want to paint this one army, and I actually want to do like 3 or 4. So I've got goals and I've got, you know, aspirations to get these other armies. And it's like by the time I finish one of them, there's like 5 other things that I want to buy. And, you know, I also want to still be able to pay my mortgage and my bills, so can't exactly just go hog wild and buy everything. So there's just so much to pick from, you know? And I just think that's so rad. Huge reason why I love 40K. Because I know for a lot of people, their rate of release is frustrating and overwhelming, but it's a constant flow of new content, so that I can never really get to a point of like, well, I've gotten everything I want, I'm done. And I think that's really cool. Okay. Okay, yeah, my goal is to get 2 of the combat patrols for the custodians before they're replaced with something worse. Yeah, that is true. That might be a problem coming up, is that they completely replace their old combat patrol. So I was talking to the gentleman who owns the local game store I frequent, and he was telling me that you could tell by like the barcode on there whether or not they were going to discontinue a line. And so when I asked him about the AdMech Combat Patrol, if it was going to be replaced by the new one, he went ahead and looked at it and found out, nope, it's got XYZ, it's going to continue being printed. And I was so tired at the time, I didn't really know what to say other than, I'm not going to have the money for this. Because I think he was expecting me to pre-order it, or to online order it, since I had expressed interest in it, but I don't have the money, man. I wish I did, but I do not have the money to buy. That's another army that I wanted to get into that I now own some of his AdMech. That's because a friend got it for, or gave it to me. I keep hitting the... I'm so sorry. I keep hitting the camera with my headphones. I have headphones in so that the music won't be caught so much by the mic. And it's working wonderfully for me, but I've got the phone at such an angle because of how my basement is set up that it keep hitting the phone. Okay, I think this guy's kind of ready for his last layer of this corroded bronze. Wait, did I get... Yeah, with this corroded bronze. Or whatever the heck this is supposed to be. Which is just going to be little baby dippy dots, because I don't want to have these bright, overwhelming spots take over. You know what I mean? They're just going to be little motes of light for your eyes to catch. For me, it's wanting to expand into armies that my roommates and close friends don't have. Yeah, that's kind of it too. Like, one of the reasons I got into Death Guard and started collecting them more seriously is that A, no one around me played Death Guard, and B, it just kind of felt like everyone was playing Space Marines to some flavor. And except for my one buddy who played AdMech, and it's like, I'd love to be able to not just keep doing Space Marine versus Space Marine mirror matchups. Because I'm having fun with the game, but I can see where this is going to get old fast. And at the time, I did have a small Tau army, and I just was not interested in playing them. Which sucks, because they have some absolutely stunning mecha and battlesuits that I kind of wish that I had, Well, actually, no, I take that back. I don't wish I'd kept a hold of them. I did such a bad job putting those together. I'm surprised anyone bought them from me. Okay. I ended up trading my Indomitus Necrons for, I think, like 3 battlesuits, an Immolator, and a Blackstone Fortress character that I could use with the sisters in Kill Team. And of those, the only things I still have are the Immolator and the Blackstone Fortress character who's just collecting dust because he's not good enough to actually field in non-2018 Kill Team. You're tired of losing his Guard and Fist, so you'll probably I probably have like a 90% loss rate. Yeah, that is kind of one of the more frustrating things. So what's killing you with the fists? Actually, I don't know enough about Guard to even ask that for that question either, but really sucks that you're not doing well with them. I don't think I've won a game of 40k in 10th edition. And a lot of that is strategy, and a lot of that is just general incompetence. But I haven't felt bad about any loss. I felt like I've been relatively competitive until the end. And so the games have been, at the very least for me, quite enjoyable. I don't care if Tau suck, rules cool. Yeah, exactly. Especially with this edition where I realized that the army composition changed. So I could conceptually just have like 9 broadsides and a bunch of battlesuits and just go straight on like Robotech Gundam mode. And so I kind of theory crafted that up. How much would it cost for me points-wise to have, I think it was like 4 broadsides. Wait, I don't need that. 4 broadsides, a bunch of crisis suits, Shadow Sun and Farsight, and I think a single Cold Star commander, and some like stealth suits to hold points, and it was very doable. My dice rolls partially suck, probably need to properly balance dice. I hear the chess X are bad, and my opponents have ungodly luck. Yeah, I hate when that happens. Because at that point you really can't blame anything but, you know, probability just not being in your favor. And yeah, chess X are like one of the most mass-produced sets, right? They're more meant for casual play, like with D&D, so I'm really sorry that they're really messing you over in 40k. Some of us have come... some of that's come down to our group was also doing Crusade. Yeah, isn't Crusade supposed to have some like counterbalances in place so that if you are finding yourself losing a lot, you still get some kind of bonuses or buffs so that you have a fighting chance? Or am I thinking of something else? Was that last edition's Crusade? I don't remember. But that's something else I've wanted to do that I haven't had a chance to, is I'd love to do a Crusade. But I don't have friends who can meet regularly enough to do a Crusade. Counterbalance doesn't seem to exist from my experience. I don't remember what it was. It was either that you got like more command points at the beginning of your game, or access to more equipment. I honest to God don't remember what it is. The counterbalance sucks. That's fair. I haven't had a chance to play 10th Edition Crusade, so I can't really speak on it, and I'm sorry that it's not fun for you right now. It sort of should have someone to DM it. Yeah, there's got to be like a central person that's like planning everything out and coordinating everything, because otherwise it's just kind of a mess. You're making you know, 4 to 5 to 10 people do the work that one person should kind of have as the central planner. What might not be a bad idea is to have just like a Google Doc open that everyone can edit. That way they can put in their own, you know, win-loss records and do some of the bookkeeping without it all falling on one person. But at the same time, you still have that one person who's acting as the arbiter for everything. Okay. Yeah, this little bit of ice yellow is doing quite a bit to make this guy pop. Imagine this took a Baneblade against my Keeper. I took a Baneblade against Keeper's Secrecy as 18 wounds, forced to take 24 devastating wounds to the Volcano Cabin. Yeah, I bet that was fun. Hey Nerd Outpost, how's it going? I can't believe I'm saying this about a Death Guard model, but that is a beautiful painting miniature. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's a lot of like high contrast stuff and high saturation, and I actually found this paint scheme from Phelan Miniatures on YouTube, and I did a Typhus in this fashion, and I loved it so much it made me want to buy the army again because I had previously sold it. You're not bullying anyone. That MF for a 16-5 up feel no pains. That's garbage. That Keeper's Secrets is garbage and should feel bad. We should all bully that one Keeper's Secrets. I've never had the auto mod do that before. I asked my mate that streams if he would do a story game, do the Armada space battle, then a ground battle. That would be interesting. Yeah, I'd love to have, especially actually, it looks like the Warhammer scene in the area is starting to pick up and gain some more traction. So it looks more and more likely that I actually will be able to do like a crusade at some point. And if I do, that's going to be heckin' neato. That happens almost all the time I play crusade. Yeah, that's just your dice are, or your friend's dice are either weighted or your dice are snake bitten. I don't know, man. I'm sorry that that keeps happening to you. I suppose maybe you should try and make it so that when you guys are playing, the missions that you do aren't all rated to be like, clear out the other guy. You know what I mean? Because you don't have to play, you know, whatever it's called. Not destroy all, whatever, but I don't know. I don't know. I know that there are definitely, like, there was a huge narrative event out on the West Coast somewhere, or near the West Coast, and instead of doing just, like, tournament-style games, they had games where even if you lost, if you did your mission, you still got points and you still won. They aren't supposed to. We do the shuffle missions. Yeah, I can see how some of those wouldn't work out so well for you. I don't know. I'm at a loss because I don't know enough about 10th edition's Crusade mode. It's something I need to read a little more into. I don't remember. Did they include that with the Leviathan starter book or the Leviathan rule book, or was that something else that they released later and you have to buy that to figure it out? My last match was 1,600 points guard against my roommate who had 1,000 points of Eldar. Well, that's just unfair because the Eldar are dirty. The Eldar are dirty, and that's not fair. I think a lot of that also has to do with the type of units you're fielding, but if you're fielding Baneblades, you should be at least able to punch back a little harder. Okay, so yeah, like I mentioned before, all I'm really doing right now is with the very brightest color that I have on here, I'm just kind of gently dusting some of the, or like touching some of the edges and tips of the metal where I feel like light would reflect the hardest, and that's what's giving it some really nice brightness. Because if I were to overdo this and put ice yellow all up and down the model, it would come across as very, like, fake looking. So, at the very least, the way I'm trying to do it should trick your eyes into thinking that there are actually bright reflections coming off of parts of it. Whether or not that's happening, you know, I don't know. But I'm trying. I'm trying. And hopefully, it's actually reading. And something else I always forget is that this stuff kind of dulls down a little bit. So, however bright... Oh, wait, no, that's way too thick. However bright I'm putting this on, if I do it correctly, it should dull down nicely and not be so overwhelming. They got white by turn 3 or 4. Yeah, I don't know if it's this game, but I do know that the Militarum or the Guard are not very good this edition right now, so it might just be quality of design, and that's not on you at all. But then again, I have no idea what kind of army lists you're running. I have no idea what kind of army list your friends are running. The 40k scene in my area sort of died out, like most people still show up, but more people show up for Age of Sigmar and Old World or Horus Heresy. Granted, you're one of the Heresy players, but just from what some of my friends that still play 40k tend to sort of hurt the gaming groups that normally play. That's really unfortunate, because I really like 10th edition. And I'm saying that as a very, very casual player. And it looks like 10th edition has led to a little bit of a revival, an upswing in the area that I live in, because we didn't have a 40k scene. It was very restricted to a couple of hardcore gamers, and that was basically it. But we got a relatively new gaming store in a central area, and they opened up like a second floor area that has much more open space. And there's a gentleman there who's one of the old guard of Warhammer, and he really wanted to get a Warhammer gaming group started, and so that's what they've done. And I feel like they've done an absolutely phenomenal job, because there's so many more people playing Warhammer, and they're all just kind of starting out, so everyone's still young blood about it, and they're all having a great time because the barrier to entry for the game is so much lower than it's been in a long time. Your roommate keeps playing games and ways to make me hit on 5 up. Then any way I use dev wounds or increase AP now is sort of useless against my opponent. Yeah, that does really suck. Again, I'm not sure what the answer is, because it's not like playing Magic where you can just ask them to put away the deck and try something else. Centrally located new game store, my beloved. Yeah, it's I live in a part in Virginia that has like a fairly centralized urban area, and then everything else is kind of really hardcore country. So most everything kind of blooms out from that area, and the game store is like 5 minutes out from a central road that's well traveled, and right on the outskirts of downtown, so you don't have to fight traffic to get there. To me, it's just do a new army or stop playing. Yeah, that's the worst feeling, though, because you put so much time and effort and love into your one army, and then it's like, nope, sorry, can't play them. They're duty. I'm going to set him down for a second, because I'm going to move on to do... I don't know. I think I'm going to go ahead and do his, the haft of his Scythe. The list I was doing was a hybrid list. Interesting. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by a hybrid list there. I mean, I think the people who have had success with Guard have gone really heavily mechanized. And they've ended up having to do a lot of tanks and a lot of artillery, because those are the only things that can really crack most people's defenses. Okay, going in with the dark brown, and then eventually I'm going to need this to lighten it back up, so I'm going to go ahead and put this out. Okay, so that was Vallejo black, and then Vallejo flat brown, and now this is their khaki, which they call buff, like a yellowy khaki. I think it's actually Amarillo khaki. I don't know. I don't know. But it all works for what I'm going to be doing, which is switch to another brush with better coverage. Tanks, infantry, transports, a little of everything. Yeah, see, I don't think that works in 10th edition very well, which kind of sucks, because I feel like, especially 10th is supposed to encourage you to roleplay a little more, and storytell, that you'd want to have an army that does all that, you know? That does a little bit of everything, but, I don't know. I don't feel like it's right that certain armies have only one or two viable play styles. But it does work. Mechanized Guard was really big back in 5th when I started. That was actually my first army. It's just my roommates that make the game infuriating. Well, that sucks. Yeah, I can't do much about that. But that was a huge problem that my buddy was having with AdMech. He kind of just bought what looked cool, which is the way to build an army. But because of that, he was so spread out, he didn't have enough focus on any specific, like, type of unit to actually do anything with them. So he had, like, one unit of Electro Priests, and that was it. And he had no way to really exploit their abilities. And then he had, like, a single unit of Castellan Robots. And it was the same story there, where it's like, cool, you've got the one unit of them, but there's not enough volume of fire to actually do anything with them. And he had a single Onager Doomcrawler. So it just kept being like, cool, you've got these really neat units, and they'd probably be better if they had more support, but they're just kind of, you know, faffing about by themselves, and then when they get blown up, you've got nothing to back them up. And that's why he plays Knights now. Because he got tired of that being a problem. And honestly, I do not blame him. The example is that they'll run like lots of bikes and units that have stealth, giving me a -1 to hit, and usually will find a way to hit them with another one to counteract my orders, hence why. Has orcs, but I have no melee power in return. Yeah, no, that I mean, I'm hoping that they didn't just metagame against you, because that's not fair. There's got to be some way to counteract that. I don't know enough about the guard rules on how to make that a better situation, but I'm sorry that that's happening to you. If there's anyone in chat who knows more about 10th edition, could you please assist this individual with helping his guard not be ass? Because that's a terrible way to play. Okay. I understand that good synergies are supposed to be part of the game, but that is such an easy way to buzzkill an enthusiastic player, is to just overwhelm them with value. The only way for me is to get command squads that allow me to ignore all modifiers to hit. I mean, that is also an option. I don't know. I think that was something that I really liked about one-page rules when I was starting to go down that rabbit hole, is not every build was viable, but every build felt viable. You know what I mean? Nothing felt like it was just completely fish out of water whenever I played one-page rules with friends. We always felt like no matter what we had on the field, it had a chance to do something. You don't like Cadians or Sentinels. Fair enough. Yeah, I think the Sentinel Walkers look doofy, but you know what? You gotta work with what you got. I suppose you, especially since you're just playing against friends, you can kit bash something to be the Sentinels. Yeah, I mean, Cadians are like the Space Marines of the Imperial Guard, right? They've been so overexposed that people are just kind of done with them. And I get it. It's like they're the most generic one, so they've got to like continue to push them. I remember reading somewhere, and I think this was just someone pontificating about it, but they suggested that the Ultramarines were so pushed was because blue is not a difficult color to paint. It stands out as an appealing color that everyone generally likes, and it accounts for people who could potentially be colorblind. So it eliminates a lot of factors that could prevent someone from getting into the hobby, even if they want to paint the big space soldiers. And again, I don't know how true that is to marketing. I don't know how much marketing thought about it that way, but it does definitely feel like Ultramarines are by far the safest visually to have for their models. I run mostly Krieg Marshals, Tempestus Scion, Command Squads, Lord Solar, and Creed. Yeah, the last two are supposed to be pretty good too. I think it's Creed and Lord Solar are both like important parts to the lists right now. I don't know. Okay, he has so many spikes. Why did I try and paint this guy? Why did I try and paint this guy with all these spikes? My God. Okay. And is it just not layering on thick enough? I don't know. Well, it does definitely look a whole lot better now that it's not just, you know, the same purple as everything else. So there's a win there, I suppose. Okay. Scrape that off a little bit. I'm honestly very impressed and pleased with how much this at this point very busted brush still has utility. Okay. Knock some more of that violet off. I've always maintained that Space Marines plus Ultramarines are the push faction for pretty much that reason. Basic Space Marines are mostly flat areas, but have a couple more interesting areas, and blue is a color which has decent paint. Yeah, no, that's kind of what it is, I think. It's just that it's a very safe option to go with, and it's relatively inoffensive for a lot of people. You know, there are very few people who vehemently hate blue. There are a lot of people that can't stand yellow. I was one of them. When I first played Dawn of War, and I saw the Imperial Fist color scheme, I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, Lord Solar is the best part, the best to run, being able to give out 3 orders. Yeah, that's what I've heard about him. Is he's just like he's a really important part if you want your army to run well. Oh, actually, no, I don't want to use this. This is going to cause problems. I'm going to use the smaller brush. But yeah, I keep having to fight the urge to make a guardsman army, because I've had that nibble quite a bit, and the most recent one is because I found Station Forge, and they do such exceptional proxies of Krieg that it's just like, well, now I gotta. Marines are big, not very spiky, look cool, but a bit funny. They're basically perfect. Yeah, I mean, the Space Marine is just a really, really good poster child in the same way that, like, Master Chief is. They've got a very iconic silhouette. There's just so much about them that's an appealing marketing tool. The people I play with highly recommend red makers for Krieg, personally. Yeah, they're really good too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say that any one model maker is not good. It's just that I've been subscribed to Station Forge's Patreon, so what you call it. So at this point, I'm getting them for free. And again, being very unemployed right now, I can't really afford a whole lot. Though I did get Red Maker's Navy Breachers, I think, because a client requested that I print them out for him, since I had a really good resin mix. So I think I've got those. Just don't like the helmets. Yeah, they're not the best. I do really like their take on some of the vehicles. And by and large, it's just something else for me to paint. It's not that I have a strong desire to suddenly paint a bunch of Krieg. Honestly, I'd probably be that basic bitch, and I'd make a bunch of Cadians if I were going to do an Imperial Guard. Actually, no, I take that back. I know exactly who I would go with. When Solar Auxilia come out for the Heresy, I'll be using them to replace your guard infantry. And that is the correct answer. The Solar Auxilia looks so good. I was talking about that with my buddy because he doesn't like the Cadians either. He thinks they're too generic. But he's in love with the Solar Auxilia. He really loves the fact that they've got that, you know, everyone gets standard issue. One size fits all, even if it doesn't. Good luck out there. You're probably going to die, and we're not going to remember who you are. He loves that about them. And he feels like that's a whole lot closer to the idea of the Cadians, or of the Imperial Guard, in a way that the Cadians aren't. In his mind, at least. So if he were to do Imperial Guard, he would go Solar Auxilia. But he has even less time than I do for this hobby, so there's no way he's making another army. But yeah, no, if I were going to do a Guardsman army, I would go Vostroyan Firstborn. I love those ridiculous, like, navy blue parade-ready uniforms that they all wear, and how that would look so horrifically out of place on the battlefield. And so that tickles me to no end. So if I were to do that, I would go completely Vostroyan Firstborn. I think that's who they are, right? They're the ones with the, that wear, like, the parade jackets and everything? Parade uniform. Mordian Iron Guard. That's it. I'm sorry. Vostroyan Firstborn is, the ones that look more Russian, don't they? They wear the Ushunkas and whatnot, I think. I will admit, I do not know much about the Guard. Yeah, the Russian Cossacks. That's it. Yeah, no, I love the Mordian Iron Guard. Thank you. Thank you for that correction. I love how corny and over the top that all is, and I simp so hard for them. It's just a great set of uniform. Okay, so I need to make the rust a little bit more prevalent on this guy's chainmail on his veil. Because something that I really hated about the original set of these models that I had is that the chainmail in his face was just so completely obscured by everything else. The Valhallan Winter Soldiers were just straight up Soviet Russia World War II. Yeah. I love how there's so much variety of Guard, and I agree with you guys that it is kind of frustrating that the basic bitch Cadians ended up being the ones that represent the faction. Though again, same thing, safe bet, you know? They just wanted to go with the army that would appeal to the most people. Because marketing. There's not a whole lot of explanation needed for the Cadians. They're Helldivers. Well, not Helldivers, you know what I mean. I don't have any more of those weird bulbous sensors, do I? No, I don't. Not anymore on him. I could do Valhallans, I suppose. I do own a Mosin Nagant. I have just a little bit of that dog in me. Okay, the cabling, the power cabling needs to be black. And that power hose on the back needs to be black. Is he still? Yeah, he's still in view. I don't know. I think I understand why they don't do it, because they only have such limited production lines. But I would almost kill for Games Workshop to just release, like, kit bashy, find a way to make it so that they're entirely modular. You know what I mean? So that they all wore the same pant, and then you could buy, like, upgrade sprues that would have different upper bodies for them, so and like heads and whatnot, so you could turn them into the other Guardsman faction that you want them to be. You made a custom based off the bot P in World War I. Yeah, I could run Guard right now in Heresy, but it would be Imperial Militia, and I want Solar Auxilia, so the 170 Guard infantry will be replaced. It sounds like someone's going to have a really good time when they go on eBay. Or r/miniswap. Okay. Golly, that is a lot of guard infantry. I thought I was getting overwhelmed when I had like 40 intercessors. That's what I get for being so new in this hobby. Okay. There we go. That's going to do for that. I think by and large, everything else on here looks okay for now, so we're going to move back into working on the axe handle because, or the scythe handle, because I moved away from that specifically to hit some of the black parts. So we're going to go ahead and just draw some highlight lines. Your guard infantry I 3D printed and bought, part of me just thought about tossing them. That's also fair. Before I stopped playing guard, my armor was slightly over 10,000 points. You ever get to play an apocalypse game with all that mess? Because that sounds absolutely insane. I can't imagine having that much guard. And I always get really intimidated when I see those collections people have that take up like entire picnic tables. My goodness. I don't know if I would enjoy an apocalypse game. There are rules that make apocalypse games slightly faster paced, aren't there? Like they don't run at the same speed of a 40K of a standard 40K game. Because that was something else, is that most of the people I play with are also new, so playing 40K is already a fairly arduous process. So trying to play something like an apocalypse game would just take a millennia. Though it does look really, really cool. We tried to do like a 4-way fight with 1,500 points apiece, I think, or maybe 1,000 points. I don't remember. And no, it was a 3-way fight. My apologies. And the game ended up taking like 5 or 6 hours. And I don't know if that's considered to be heavy lifting in 40K, but it definitely felt like it took way too long. You'd like to make a knight army too? Yeah, that Chainbreaker Lance thing that came out last winter, that thing was a godsend for people wanting to make knights as an army. I kind of wish that they would just make that a semi-permanent starter box, because I feel like it was such a good deal. Okay. Okay, now that that's painted up just a little bit, I'm going to let the black dry out. Gotta do some more on the cabling because I forgot about one side of the cabling. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so now that the cabling's all done, he's definitely starting to get some more unique color to him. I think I'm gonna go ahead and work on the tentacles a little bit. Those are gonna go up to like a fleshy purpley color. So we're going to need the pink. I've got this color that I don't carry on me. It's called Brown Rose, and it was supposed to be a replacement for Cadian Flesh Tone, but it's a really bad replacement that is way too saturated and makes everyone look like they're like flushed. So I think that's going to be part of the color for the tentacles, to make the tentacles just look like they're mildly infected and inflamed. And I think that sounds like a good idea. Whoops. Hit the camera again. Okay, so we're going to add just a little bit of black to the purple to darken down the purple enough so that it looks closer to the base. And then we're going to add a little bit of this brown rose to hopefully not overly brighten it up, but to give it just that hint of that weird pink. So now it makes almost a lilac. And that should be good. I suppose we'll find out. You know, the 4 armies that I've got on my radar that I want to either make or continue making are, I want to keep building my Imperial Fists because I really like them. I want to build my Death Guard with like an allied Chaos Demon attachment back up to 2,000 points. I want to build a Orc army up to about 1,000 points. and I want to build a Sisters of Battle army up to 1,000 points and really cut off there for them, because I like the Sisters of Battle, but I don't want to build up to 2,000 points. And then after I do all that, I want to find someone to play these armies against, because that's the other thing I don't have. And then I want to get into Age of Sigmar, because I love the armies in Age of Sigmar. And then I want to start collecting Old World just so I can paint the models, not necessarily play the game. You had a cool idea a while ago for a Primarch kit bash? And what would that be? What fun inspiration do you have for kit bashing a Primarch? Which one would you use as the base? Okay. Go ahead and go up a little bit on the color there. Do a little bit on these ones now. And I think what I'm going to do on top of this, just to kind of really make it have some flushed reddish color, is I'm going to go back over it with a wash. And hopefully that will do a decent job at making this all look really inflamed and gross. Take the Forge World Alfarius, but then for the torso use one of the Age of Sigmar Serpentine characters, so you have a Slithery Alfarius Snake Serpent Hydra. That would be really cool. I don't know if anyone's done anything like that, but I do know some people have made like a Demon Primarch version of Alfarius. I completely forgot to do the metal bit up here. I'm so angry. Actually, no, I shouldn't be. I've still got the colors out. That's going to be an easy fix. Okay. Yeah, I have a buddy who he plays Space Wolves on one side, and he plays Alpha Legion on the other. And so he went double Marine, and I think he decided to go Tyrannid as well. He would also run him as Gilliman. Fair enough. But yeah, I'd like to play more. That's kind of what it boils down to. The more I think about it, the more it's just like, man, I wish I could play more. Hopefully that'll come true, though, because I have a buddy who normally goes to Friday Night Magic, but all his friends that would normally go are kind of out of commission this week. So he's been left with no Friday Night Magic to go to. And that's at the place that does the Warhammer now. So I've offered, I'm like, hey, do you want to do Warhammer? And he went, yeah, sure. And so we were going to coordinate a little more today, but I haven't really been in contact with him, so I guess we'll have to figure it out later. But hopefully, we'll be able to coordinate and do some Warhams. That's the plan, at least. I'm very impressed at how different this color looks. Not relative to these other colors. Now, did I just mix it wrong? Yeah, I just mixed it just a little bit wrong. There we go. Oh no, Warham. But yeah, we got a new gaming store, and it came into existence like a year and a half before the pandemic. War Grade Ham, exactly. And it managed to stay alive during the pandemic. I was pretty impressed. And they've been getting like slowly bigger because they've kind of become the friendly, non-elitist version of the other game store in the area, which is a really big Magic the Gathering store. But they have some issues with their customer service. And so this other place opened up, and they became more about generalist board games, and they also did Magic. And so people who weren't trying to tournament grind and whatnot started going to this new place, and they also became known for their board game selection, yada yada yada, and that's what allowed them to become more popular. And then after the pandemic, the Magic store realized it couldn't survive off of Magic, so they kind of eliminated a lot of their play space and bought all of that Marvel comic Funko stuff and started inundating the store with that, which I kind of hated. But they also got into Warhammer as well. And that kind of irked me because there's another store in the area that I love going to because the guy who works there is so nice and he's so cool. And he had to get out of Magic because this other place had many more economic resources, and they kind of pushed him out. And he kind of went in more on board games and on miniature games, with Warhammer being a big seller. And so now this other store, this more corporate store, is now doing Warhammer and kind of trying to push him back out of that. It's like, Jesus, guys, can't he have anything? And apparently the answer is no, capitalism. But the friendly store that I'm talking about, they started doing Warhammer as well. And so their Friday nights are like packed to the gills. And I think that's really cool because I don't think they were expecting the kind of reception they got from the city. And they deserve it because they have tremendous customer service. They're great people. They do a lot of good work. So bully for them. Maybe this maroon will read better because I think this isn't quite as saturated a pink as I hoped it would be. It's a little fleshy, which is fine. Now, don't get me wrong, the other more corporate store, they have decent employees and, like, they're nice enough and they're trying their best, but the store feels like it's losing some of its core soul because they've decided to go so many different directions to try and stay economically viable. And that really sucked. But, you know, hopefully all the competition will allow them all to thrive. The one thing is that the original Warham store, they actually were in like a small like strip mall shop where they had like two storefronts, one for the tabletop gaming, one for their product, and they outgrew that spot, and they actually ended up buying like a decommissioned restaurant or renting one or whatever you want to call it, and they had these big plans where they were going to like completely clean out the bottom floor and turn it into this huge gaming area where they also were hopefully going to be able to, you know, serve drinks and food and whatnot. And then the pandemic hit right after they moved in. And so unfortunately, he's had to do a whole lot of cost-cutting measures to try and stay viable, including like being the only employee there. And I just feel for the guy because he's really nice and he helps everyone, but he's also almost legally blind, and he's just kind of... I think he's doing okay, but he should be doing more than okay, you know what I mean? He's one of those shop owners that I wish was, like, thriving instead of surviving. Okay. I think I'm gonna go ahead and add some of this, like, khaki bone color into this not quite flesh color to make it really washed out and pinky. And then that's going to go on this face back here. Used to have two local game stores, one way better than the other. Yeah. I'll go back over that with something else later. Well, you have two local game stores, one better than the other. What makes the one bad? Is it like owner elitism, or is it like certain customers go there and they ruin it for everyone else? What makes it no fun for you guys, or what makes one clearly superior to the other? That's something else I can do. I can go ahead and do his scythe, because I have forgotten about this bottom part that's going to end up being just heavily rusted. But yeah, I think I'm pretty darn lucky because I wasn't into a lot of these hobbies until I got to college, or until I got to this area. I moved here. So the fact that I've got 3 stores that are all perfectly good, one way or another, feels like, you know, an embarrassment of riches on my part. The one I like more is more of a generalist hobby shop who actually puts out discounts to returning customers, and since I'm such a regular, my account is usually always up to max. Well, that's good. So you've got one that just very specifically meets your needs. And that's got to feel pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do to try and give this some more color depth, and it was something that I read about and never tried until recently, was instead of going from like a grayscale, black to white, I'm actually going to use this color that I have called Heavy Gray, which I actually use as my base for my Death Guard guys. There it is. I don't know if that's showing up okay, but it has this like kind of dark green or like dull green appearance. The other one is where everyone goes to play, but the owner pushes too hard to be nice to everyone. That's an interesting problem to have. So it doesn't come off as gray. It comes off with this kind of like olive green look. And I'm interested by this because it doesn't quite look right. But then when you start actually blending it in to be like a metallic, you start seeing where this one shines. So that's what we're going to work on. Okay. Go ahead and mix that in here. Mix that in with this gray-green to make this kind of off-white gray. And we're going to go ahead and use this to just do a little bit of touch, because otherwise it's all going to show just a bit too much. Okay. What I mean is I met a friend. I had since high school. I commented I didn't recognize them since they grew their hair out by saying they looked like a chick. Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. I'm assuming he didn't appreciate that kind of generalization, or that kind of genderification right there. Because I can see why that would cause a little bit of consternation. But, you know, context is important. I feel like there's a thin line there. And context is the real important thing. But I could definitely understand also why that would be off-putting. And why you wouldn't want to go back there if the owner's gonna snap at you for something like that. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and hit this with a slightly lighter take on this gray, and hopefully it will eventually really show through. I put way too much paint on this palette. Besides, you pay full price there. Yeah, that's also a weird thing. I get it because, you know, margins are razor thin right now. But it's like, I'm pretty sure that Games Workshop sells to you guys at like a 40% markdown. Markup, markdown, so that you can turn a better profit with these minis. Because I also remembered hearing, and I don't remember how true it is, that Games Workshop specifically doesn't want veteran players to be playing at their store. Because market research has shown them that veteran players actually deter new people from coming in. And so they want to like introduce you to the game and let you see how the game plays and get you some models and whatnot, and then they want you to go play at your friendly local game store so that you can get some really hardcore gaming in and not be intimidating to newer players. And I think that was confirmed by someone who claimed to have worked there and said that, yeah, that was the business strategy. I mean, I still have that big guard army, but right now my smallest army I have is Necrons. I think that army is sitting at a little over 4,000. The smallest army you have is sitting at 4,000 points. Good lord. Congratulations to you. That is a very impressive haul. No, I've got my smallest armies for some of them are smaller than a combat patrol because, as I've mentioned previously, I'm still relatively new to the hobby. And so, I haven't had that depth of collection yet. Okay. I think that'll be okay. Whoop, I hit it again. I'm gonna have to do something about that because shaking the monitor wildly is probably not very good for your guys' vision. Okay. Okay, we're just gonna add a little bit of an edge highlight at the edge of the scythe to hopefully create even more contrast on this area. There we go. Now that reads very nice. Okay. Yeah, this brush is almost Kaputski. I think this is going to have to be the last model that I use it for detailing. It's starting to really wear thin. But I mean, I'm also not treating it very well. So, it is all fair. For me, all my problems are where I live in a college town, so everywhere downtown is extremely liberal with how you have to be polite to everyone and everything. It all feels so fake and disingenuous. I mean, to some extent, that's just how some people live. Because, I mean, it's almost like a common courtesy thing, if depending on how you look at it. And so, they grow up, you know, learning a different form of language. And it only feels like an obligation if you make it feel like an obligation, I suppose. And also, if it is a college town, that does mean that these people are still kind of growing up and still kind of learning their social cues. So, they're definitely going to have that situation where they might be overly militant about it without really understanding why. But that's something that comes with age. And so eventually they'll mellow out and learn where they can and cannot hit those boundaries and how specifically to address them. Okay, so I think the scythe is about done. I think I did, darn it, I did the back part of it wrong, because this part of the scythe is supposed to be black and have that, you know, faded, crappy metallic look. It's not supposed to be rusted over. That way it gives it a little bit more variety to the look. That's the plan, at least. So we're going to go ahead and hit all of this with a basic black coat so that I can repaint it and give it more of just that baseline metallic look. There we go. I'm going to mix that gray back in here to make kind of a light gray. And I'm actually going to have to wait for that to dry a little bit, I suppose. Or I suppose I can just be impatient and wet blend it all in. That works too. I promise. My World Eaters army for Horse Heresies are on 10k. My Iron Warriors Heresy army is sitting around 5k, but I have plans to get the World Eaters to 12 and the Iron Warriors to 10. But once my Solar Auxilia Guard are done, you'll work on Heresy Ultramarines army based on Betrayal of Calth, and that will only get up to 4k. How big are Horus Heresy / Age of Darkness games supposed to be? I know so little about that game style, other than that it's based off of like 7th. 2 to 3k? Okay, that makes sense, I suppose. And so you obviously want to have a little bit extra in case you want to, you know, swap things out or play specific scenarios, I'm assuming. And yeah, Betrayal of Calth seems like it'd be really fun. That does make sense why their starter boxes seem to come with more stuff in them than a 40k starter box. And I think, wow, that ended up working out a whole lot better than I thought it was going to. Just kind of sloppily wet blending some of the colors together ended up looking really good. Neat. A standard game is 3k. Okay. Golly, I can't imagine going up to 4,000 to 10,000 points. I'm assuming you are just a very passionate collector of these guys, and you really love the collecting and the displaying of like the really large armies, because that's way above my pay grade. Okay. I think... Let's see. What color can I do? I think I'm going to go ahead and add some actual, like, hard pink into this to try and make it look... to try and make the tentacles look a little bit more lively. Because right now they're kind of pale, and I want them to look flushed. You love collecting and displaying, but you also love playing big games. That's absolutely fair. No, I don't have the mental, I don't have the spoons for big games. I'm baby. Like, I don't think I've ever played a 3,000 point game. I think I've played a single 2,000 point game and was so overwhelmed and just, like, mentally done by the end of it. And that's just kind of where my brain stops. I'd like to play more, because I feel like part of the reason why it was so overwhelming for me is it was the first one I ever did, and you've kind of got to expose yourself to that and keep trying, but Evis, it just feels like so much. You'd love to play a Horus Heresy game, but you need to learn and remember the rules. Yeah, it's based off of 7th edition, right? And 7th edition rules are definitely more complex and granular. That's the word I want to use, granular, than 9th edition. It's definitely got its own thing going on there. Okay, you can be all mottled and gross looking, you dead guy. I want that. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and do that. Mix it in back here. And buy Labor Hereticus so I can use the Alpha Legion rules. That's right, you're a big Alpha Legion fan. I have acquired those booklets in PDF format, and I've tried to give them a read through, but I don't think I did much with it. And also, what the heck was all that bing bonging for? Who was messaging me? Okay. So none of that this week. I get. Oh no, Baldur's Gate is about to fall to the undefeated scheduling issues, because it looks like that's happening now. I'm busy tomorrow. One of my buddies, the main buddy, is busy tonight. So it looks like no Baldur's Gate this week. At least no Baldur's Gate with friends. I can Baldur's Gate all by myself. Okay, yeah, that pink, that fleshy pink is looking a whole lot better. It's got that kind of gross diseased look that I'm going for. Alpha Legion has a really high skill ceiling. Well, that's what they want you to believe. And then when you get in, you're going to find out that the skill ceiling's even higher. And everything's going exactly according to Keikaku. Okay, some Reichland Flesh Shade on this will hopefully kind of liven it up in the blood section. We shall see. I played a 24,000 game where I played three different armies, 8k of Chaos Space Marines, 6 of Chaos Demons, 10 of Traitor Guard against 12,000 Orcs and 12,000 Tyranids. That is an incredible amount of DACA. I can't imagine how many Orc boys they had in that one army. other than all of them. Because that's how many had to be there, was just all of them. I think, on a slightly unrelated note, that I'm about ready to start giving inks a try, because I have never used an acrylic ink before. And I'm getting to the point where I feel like these washes are making it more difficult for me to do what I want to do than they are helping me. Okay. By the God Emperor, that is a wah. Yeah, that is a lot of wah happening. Okay. Now is actually... What else do I gotta do with this guy? I'm gonna let this stuff dry. Because, of course, the wash needs a decent amount of time to dry. Let's clean some of that up. Because I don't want this to, you know, flood out the details like it do. Same with his face. I don't want this to flood out the details. I'll go back and paint him more specifically later. Yeah, that does sound like a great weekend. Especially with a bunch of people that know what they're doing. Okay, so I think it looks like the only thing oh man, I should clean that up, because looking at it from another angle, that's kind of poopy. I was about to say, I think the only things I really have left to do are the cloak, the hood, and the bones and smoke. So he's inching ever closer to done. Dude's getting almost done. I went from needing to finish the trim to almost being done with him in, I think, what is that, an hour and a half? Not too bad if I say so myself. But I'm gonna have to finish this guy up later. I was supposed to have something like that happen. I went to an event with a friend because they used to go to Gen Con together, but then they got tired of going to Gen Con and running a stall, so they decided to just have their own little getaway that they would jokingly call Boon Con, which was supposed to be like they rent a house out somewhere and they just chill at that house and drink and play games and just kind of enjoy each other's company instead of spending that money on a convention where they're constantly stressed out and tired. And the first one they went to is what got one of them really into Warhammer. And he came back being like, dude, you gotta get into Warhammer. This game's so cool, blah, 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 blah. And that was what it was, and it got me interested in going, so I asked if I could go next time, and he talked to his friends, and they were like, yeah, sure. And I was eventually allowed to go. And I was excited, because at this point I'd been into Warhammer for 3 years, and I was really looking forward to going and playing some Warhammer with them. And no one brought their armies. They were all kind of Warhammered out. It's just like, well, shit. That's fine. Apparently they did have a habit of doing that to him, though, because he also got into X-Wing because of them and bought like $300 worth of stuff. And by the time he had gotten it all consolidated and ready to go and ready to play, they were into Warhammer. But, you know, no one's obligating you to have to stay in a hobby, right? That's kind of not cool. So, they got what they wanted out of it. My end goal for the World Eaters army is to have a full legion broken up between 3 different variations. The first half is the Warhounds, then the World Eaters, and then the Khorne Berserker World Eaters. That sounds like you're going to have a really cool army going on. And you'll be able to play them on all 3 stages of the Heresy, or of the Horus Heresy era. The Heresy. Sorry, that was stupid. Let's see, we're going to do just a little bit more highlighting along some of the edges to really make the chainmail do its thing. Actually, no, it looks like it did okay. Okay. So I think now everything is done from the shoulders down. Oh wait, no, he's still got the cloak down there. He's got the purple. Yeah, so he's getting pretty close. So let's see. That's where we're gonna stop for tonight. This is where he's got I didn't realize he had little bits down there. I don't know what that's supposed to be. But anyway, I think that's where I'm going to stop for tonight, because I don't need to eat dinner now. Now that game's not happening, I can go for considerably longer if I want. I might go for another half hour, I don't know. In that case, purple. We've got to do some purple. we're going to go to a very dark purple real quick. And go down really low on this hood. And we're going to do the same thing on his front cloak. And the goal is going to be to go up really high to, again, create really nice contrast. And I think it's going to end up being pink. Alpha Legion can bring Legion special units that include generic units like special war gear. Man, I need to get into Horus Heresy. I don't have anyone to play it with. I just want to collect the models. I need to make myself a really cool Imperial Fists army. That's what I need to do. I keep wanting to paint my armies or my Space Marines other colors and try other chapters, but I just keep falling straight back into Imperial Fists. I cannot wait for them to eventually do, like, their second Dorn model, because I'm curious how they're going to make him look for the Heresy. Because I know they got the one, which is honestly one of my favorite models, one of the ones I love to death. But I'm really curious how they're going to make, like, Siege of Terra Dorn look, because I think that's what they're going with the new models, right? Is they're trying to make them... The first ones were, like, early Heresy, late Great Crusade era, and the new models are supposed to be late Heresy, Siege of Terra, is my understanding. And I kind of love that. And if I ever have any great amount of money, that's going to be a plan, is I want to collect all of them. Pre-Heresy and post-Heresy. And just make that like a little prized collection for the display case. Your friends plays Alpha Legion, they pull off a lot of shenanigans. That sounds perfect. That sounds like exactly what Alfarius ordered. Okay. Okay, so that should be good, and now that means I can build back up into the purple. Alpha Legion. As Alpha Legion, I can bring other legions, so does that mean I can bring some Tartarus Marines with Imperial Fist Storm Shield? That would be an interesting combo. Okay. Just gonna do some simple highlighting of the cloak here. Just kind of hit it with this same purple, but without the black involved. And at some point, one of these days, I will learn what the actual color is that is used to darken purple that isn't just black. Because black will also desaturate the purple, which is not what I actually want. But, you know, live and learn. Okay. Okie dokie. Continue working on trying to get this to have like the right saturation of purple in here, because right now it's coming in very dull, which is fine. The real highlights are going to be what make this thing scream purple, which is the whole point. I don't know, but I do know you can basically run your army as other armies and bring their special units and weapons, so you probably could. Good gravy. Playing against the Alpha Legion must be a blast. And also the default for anyone who doesn't know what they actually want to play. Because now you can be everything. Okay. Gonna go ahead and edge highlight the purple on the cloak. Just a little bit. The Alpha Legion makes you think, yeah, I bet. They seem like an army that you would have to have a very IQ to appreciate. I'm not sorry for that reference. I hope someone got it. They count as 2 inches farther away than you really are. Like when you shoot or charge it, then they just go, haha, you fool, I was actually standing over here and pull out of your range. Good lord. That's ridiculous. But that sounds like the kind of shenanigans that would be incredibly fun to play, because I think in 9th edition, in the Chaos Space Marines Codex, they were kind of unimpressive. I don't remember. I just remember my buddy who plays Alpha Legion being disappointed that they got a very kind of not fun, not crunchy, you know, warband trait or Legion trait or whatever you want to call it. I'm forgetting the exact name. Okay, just going to continue adding this purple and building up to the highlight color, because everything is this very dark purple right now, and that's not where we want to end. We want to keep it, though, as the deep shadow. All the shenanigans. I keep hearing that Horus Heresy is a really good time because of that kind of stuff, that if you're really into Space Marines, that's where you should be, because the Horus Heresy just has such great versatility amongst them. Why you love them, it's why you love shooting armies too? Yeah. That's why you're also a fist player, right? Fists are basically gunline the army. I mean, I dig it. I love the sight of just like a wall of gunfire. It's just such a great visual. Okay. Go ahead and hit some of that. Feels like I'm using kind of the wrong brush to do this, and I'm not making a whole lot of a dent because there's such a very absorbent darkness to this purple, but that's what the gentle brushing is for. Okay. Same kind of thing. Just use that to get a little bit of purple element in there to pull back out. And it'll eventually build up. I would lose my shit if the censored codex was Imperial Fist with a surprise door model and breaches for 40k. I would cry tears of like of both joy and grief, because I'm not in a place to do that. But no, my understanding, the rumor is, and this would make a lot more sense, is that it's going to be Agents of the Imperium, and that they're going to actually give a codex to like the Ordo Malleus and the Ordo Xenos and the Ordo you know what I mean, Hereticus, and that they're going to create a lot more unique units for those guys, and that's also going to be a home for the Death Watch. Instead of the Death Watch just being like this flimsy half chapter. Which I kinda get, because it works in lore, it works in game, because it is supposed to be an Imperium based army. They usually do like 1 Chaos, 1 Imperium, and 1 Xenos based army every what you call it, right? I love the moment my friend tried to use that build against a unit that I had Karn in, and Karn has a rule that keeps my opponent from being able to react to him in the unit he's part of charging. You fool! I was over here. No, you're not! I could just see that playing out in real time. See your friend's face freeze in fear and realization as they realize Karn's about to murder their children. Same thing here. We're just going straight down and trying to how to do that. But yeah, I'm not counting down the days for when they make a Rogel Dorn Primarch for 40k. I don't think that's going to be on the timeline anytime soon. I've seen through all the lies of the Jedi. Hey Arya, how's it going? I'm continuing work on these Death Shroud Terminators. And he's turning out pretty okay, I think. Hopefully he's in focus, because I haven't noticed if that's been an issue. But he's eventually going to be getting a fairly high contrast cloak that's going to go all the way up to like a pink. So we're going to see. I mean, Star Wars, Warhammer, it's got war in the name. It's close enough. We're going to see if I'm able to pull this off, because I don't think I did a very good job getting the high contrast on the first guy. So the second guy is hopefully going to be like a whole lot more obnoxiously brighter. We shall see. And this is all just going to be very, very gentle, like baby strokes with the brush. Starhammer. That looks way better than what I've got going so far on your project. Is your project still a L'Oreal, or are you working right now on trying to get a Fulgrim Transfigured put together? Because good lord, is that a model. I kept saying it in the chat, but I was having like anxiety attacks thinking of trying to put that thing together. Still a L'Oreal? I don't know, I think the L'Oreal's turning out great. I mean, you've also got a lot more spindly bits and weird bits and all sorts of other things going on with yours. Dorn and Perturabo are the only Primarchs in Heresy that have a special dedicated transport vehicle. That's because Dorn is a fucking Chad, and Perturabo is enough of a soy that he demanded it too. I'm just joking. Perturabo is another Giga Chad. You're going to assemble Fulgrim on stream because you hate yourself. No, I remember that. That's right. You were going to drink and assemble, which has a chance to either be incredibly meme-worthy or an absolute disaster, so I applaud your bravery there. I made a mistake last stream, because when I ended my stream, I found another person to raid, and I didn't realize it was a Golden Demon winner, and so I went into his stream and talked a little bit about the stuff I was making, and meanwhile he's painting Horus Transcended for his Golden Demon entry this year, and all I can think of is like, wow, I feel like the small child going up to their parents with the drawing, and their parents saying, look at how good this is. We're going to put it on the fridge so everyone can see it. And I know that wasn't the case. The dude was incredibly nice, but it's just like, wow, man, I thought I was doing good. You're just blowing me out of the water with that stuff. Dorn has a special flyer, and Perturabo has a special super modified shadow sword. Yeah, he has those in the novels too. I just imagine Dorn having the entire phalanx, and you just like dropping your minivan on the table. I'm having a little brain fog onto where to go next with the L'Oreal, but my bestie should be there in about should be here in about 15 to 20 minutes, so he'll pick his brain. That sounds like probably the best idea. Hopefully he'll be able to see something that you're not seeing right now, so that way you'll see it. That's always one of the worst parts to me about painting minis, is eventually you get stuck in that point of like, okay, what next? And then your brain just seizes up and cramps, and then you're like, I don't know what to do, and then you get scared of working on it again. He's coming out from Pennsylvania so we can catch Dune 2 together. Very cool. Soft Servo showed me Dune 1 at his house, and that movie was incredibly impressive cinematically. So I'm probably not going to go see Dune 2, but I am excited to hear about what he was able to do with that second one. Oh, it was so good. Yeah, it really was. And my thing is I've never actually read Dune, or seen the original movie with, was it David Bowie? I was too young when that stuff was first coming out, and I tried to read Dune, but I was far more interested in like Chinese history and Romance of the Three Kingdoms at the time, so Dune just didn't really stick. I was picking my roommate's brain on Sister since I was thinking pink for the armor and black black for the robes. Pink and black always look good. I was going to put a model on Golden Demon, but decided I'm not at that level, so instead I'll be playing 2v2 Heresy competition at Adepticon. Honestly, you haven't read or seen the OG either. I was going to do purple cloaks, but you don't know now. Playing the heck out of Dune 2000, though. Yeah. I know what that is, but I don't. Okay, so now... Hopefully the music ain't too loud, because it's blasting in my ear, but I'm also wearing a headphone. I decided to try and make the music less of an issue on stream. I'm now wearing headphones so that it's not being picked up by the mic, but it means it's very loud for me. RTS game from back in the day. I got you. I think I know the one you're talking about. I know they made a more recent real-time strategy game for Dune. I don't remember if it was based off of the new movie or just happened to come out to coincide with it. But they've definitely got some cool stuff going on there. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, we're just going to do a little bit of that. Nothing too powerful because I don't want this color to overwhelm the cloak's original colors. Okay. Dune, Spice Wars. But you haven't played it yet. That's another thing you could do on stream. You know, I hate to say it because it makes me sound so basic, but the big thing that made me happy coming out of Dune was getting to see Dave Bautista in another role, because I think he's a super cool person, and seeing him getting to not be the big buffoon and have a more serious role, that was awesome, because he deserves it. And so getting to watch him get more challenging roles is really cool. No joke, I think you would do well at Golden Demon. I appreciate it. I don't think my skills are there yet, because I'm definitely struggling a lot with like smoothing out blending and whatnot. And I don't believe my concept of like light is quite there, but I do appreciate the vote of confidence because it means I'm closer than I think I do. I did mention last time that that's one of my goals, is I eventually do want to try and enter a Golden Demon and I'd love to place, but after seeing some of the other entries, I don't think so. But yeah, I'm really happy to know that I'm at a level where that's actually a possibility, because when I first started this and I first started seeing all these incredibly talented painters, it's like, I'm never going to be there. And so, even recognizing it in my own work, knowing that I'm getting closer, is just kind of a cool feeling. Okay. I'm much further away from even considering entering. Yeah, I mean, it does require a very specific style of painting, though, too. And if that's not your jam, then why bother? I don't think I don't feel like people really need an award to know that they're a good painter. And so for me, it's more just, how do I stack up against these specific people and this specific style? That's more why I want to enter. It's not really validation that I'm a good painter. I already know I'm a good painter. I've decided to stop lying to myself about that a couple months ago. Okay. I don't think I want to do any more on this cloak. Maybe I do. I'm just afraid now of like going too hard with the cloak and ruining what color balance I do have. You know what I mean? Let's see, maybe a little bit of this in here. Because if it's watery, it's just going to blend instead of leaving huge swaths and stains. There we go. Okay. I started working with mixing colors like that to get better highlights, etc. I need to start working with mixing colors like that to get better highlights. Yeah, that's been one of my biggest hurdles recently, is realizing that I can't just keep mixing black and white to try and get lighter and darks, because that just desaturates everything and makes it look flat. Working on this typhus was what actually helped me the most with that. And doing some more blending work across these models has continued to help me, because there's some pretty clear boundaries to where stuff is supposed to go. And so, and especially with the not the Rogaldorn, I made that mistake this morning, the Torgarodon that I did, getting to see how to blend back and forth between like a brighter color and a darker color. That's my goal too, but I look at my painting, I'm like, I need to practice a lot more, but if I can't be at that level after 12 years of painting miniatures, I'll probably just stick with my army collecting. See, I disagree. Time is irrelevant here, because there's a difference between painting for joy and painting to learn a skill, you know what I mean? You can be perfectly good at something for a long time, but never be like an artiste with it. And then you can suddenly decide, you know what, I want to go up another level. And then there you go. You now have the motivation to really start studying these hoity-toity techniques, and to really start focusing in on what you can do to improve, instead of just, what can I do to get this model painted so he looks good on the table? Because that's kind of what happened with me, is I hit like a plateau a couple of years ago, because my armies weren't getting any better looking, and I was just doing the same stuff over and over again, and I was like, how do I get better? And then I just started watching better painters and trying the techniques that they were doing, and even though I kept failing at it and them not being very good, I kept trying. And eventually, shit started clicking. So I don't think you should discourage yourself from trying to compete or trying to improve because you feel like you've been doing this for as long as you have, and you haven't reached a level of what you think is acceptable progress. That's also what you should start doing, watching videos, tutorials. If I can recommend one to you that made me think I could do it, it is Philon Miniatures. Miniatures. I'm going to sing this man's praises because I feel like he is severely underwatched. But like watching his video on doing a Death Guard made this on YouTube. Made this high contrast stuff look actually doable. And it's like, wow, he makes that look so easy, and he makes it look like I can do it. And so, just attempting it and watching over his video as I was doing typhus, it was like, wow, I can do this. So, the only thing stopping us from improving is the desire to specifically improve that skill, right? I think that cloak looks pretty okay. I think I'm going to make it a little brighter. Sorry for squeaky voice. I'm going to go ahead and go a little bit harder on this cloak with some of the actual highlights. But yeah, he speaks with a slightly heavy Eastern European accent, but he's very, very, he's still very clear. But he's got some amazing videos that really makes you think you can do more than you can. He just did one on non-metallic metals at 3 different levels, and he's one of those guys that shows just enough of the process so you can actually see the development happening. One of my biggest pet peeves with some of these fantastic artists is, since they're doing like a speed paint of it and sped it up, you're like, okay, and they work on one little bit, and then suddenly the entire thing is beautiful. And it's like, what happened? I didn't see it happen. How did you go from like doing this little bitty baby bit to suddenly having like this masterful bit all over the piece? And so I feel like he did a really good job. You've learned that if you want to improve, you just need someone to find someone that speaks the right language. It's like a perfect key to a door. It's like the draw an owl meme. I agree wholeheartedly. And as especially as a school teacher, former school teacher, now retired. Some people mesh really well with some people's methodologies, and other people just don't. And it's not that someone is suddenly a bad teacher or less skilled, it's just that they're not, like, clicking. And that's a huge thing, and it's it's really frustrating to have happen, especially if you're the one teaching, because there's all that validation and whatnot. But it's part of the job, right? I had one class last year that had a sub who was my teacher's aide for the afternoon, and she used to be like a special ed teacher at the school before she retired. And she was kind of spicy and cantankerous because she'd been there for too long, which is why she retired. But a major thing about her was that she understood that, you know, freshmen especially were very ornery and had, like, discipline issues. But this one class was just incredibly mellow because of the group of kids that were in there. And it had very little to do with me, but they were mellow. And we did like a review for a test. And so I'm up there leading the class and asking questions, and they're all participating for the most part, and the ones that aren't are keeping quiet and keeping their heads down. And after that, I like gave them the test because it was an open study guide deal. And she was just in the back watching this all happen with kind of a bemused look on her face. And then after the period ended and they were leaving, she went up to me and said, "Have they all been drugged? How did you get them to do that?" I didn't do anything. But, you know, they meshed well with me. And that happened earlier this year. I was out a lot this year because of, you know, the illness, and I got a message from one of the substitutes saying, "Hey, I covered your class, and I just wanted to tell you that you've done an amazing job helping these kids, like, know behavioral expectations." And I didn't do shit. They were just mellow all year. I just happened to be in the room. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how much this is helping you right now, and I put my VODs up on YouTube afterwards. But if any of what I'm doing technique-wise is helpful, by all means, steal it. This hobby is all about helping each other grow. That looks terrible. Speaking of growth. Yeah, the Draw an Owl meme speaks to me on so many levels. Okay. That's gonna smooth it back out. Yeah, look at that guy. Oh, the blending on that cloak actually looks so good. I put a lot of effort into my character models each time I do. I see that I'm getting better, but there's some techniques I understand that I just can't put on a model, like OSL or glowing effects. I'm not good at those either. On OSL, I'm a sloppy bastard. I start with the brightest or the darkest color I have, and I dry brush the crap out of it in the general area that it's supposed to be in, and then I take a slightly lighter color, I mix in like a shade higher, and then I dry brush a smaller area, and I do that until I find the central point. And it looks good enough. But no, I think, have you posted in my Discord channel, Nerd Outpost? I don't think so, but if you ever want to, go for it. Because that's what it's there for. It was primarily a, hey, we should have a place to show off minis. Make a Discord channel. It's a shame since me not being too long out of high school, but I keep hearing that school teachers are quitting since younger members of Gen Z are so terrible to them, and it makes me sad. It's a little bit of that. It's a little bit of just more stress being put on the job, because the biggest problem I had, other than just my health failing me, was it with the classes, it started becoming less of a passive apathy and more of like an aggressive apathy. And unfortunately, I don't really blame the kids, because they're just doing what they've experienced and what they're kind of being enculturated into doing. And while it may seem like, oh, well, then they need to stop being on the blah, blah, blah and stop listening to the blah, 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 it's like, well, what choice do they have? Okay, so my Discord, my server, let's do an invite. Let's go ahead and make a copy. Use the copy button. I'm just going to throw this back up here. Wapa! Wapoo! And to some extent, it's like, what future is there for them? Because most of the job... I mean, I live in an area that's very country until it's very city. And unfortunately, it doesn't have a huge influx of people coming in and a huge industry coming in. So it's like a lot of these kids are growing up poor without many prospects. And they're seeing what that's doing to their families, and they're seeing how education and society has kind of failed them. So it's like, why should they care about education? And it really sucks, because there's definitely some aspect of you've got to be the captain of your own ship, but because of a combination of things, they're not really here to, they're not really in a situation to really see that. I don't know what else to call it, man. Because we've had some kids who just, they actively, very aggressively are like, fuck this, and refuse to respond, or just walk straight out when they're tired of listening to you. And unfortunately, because of how the situation is, there's not much teachers can do about it, and there's not much admin can do about it. Because there's been that big push of like, kids need to be in school, but we're not going to pay you enough to actually have a good support system for them. And I don't want to get too much on my soapbox here, because I didn't quit teaching because of all these. I liked my job. My body just apparently didn't. So, yeah, it's not a good situation for anyone, and it's a combination of a bunch of policies far bigger than any one answer can give, or one switch can change. And, that's kind of where it is right now. There's going to need to be huge top-down reforms for anything to actually fix. Okay, so we're going to take some of this gray that I have, and I'm going to be a little lazy since these aren't even characters, and I'm just going to dry brush the parts that I don't want to do. I'm going to dry brush all the spots that are supposed to get a little bit of it, that need it, and I've just been too lazy to get to because I'm starting to run out of patience with this guy. Okay, so this is where we're at now. I went ahead and got the little cable right there to make it a little flashier. Everything else, though, I think is turning out pretty okay. I think he's coming through a little brighter on the screen just because I've got some really good studio lights on him. But, I can't wait to see this guy on the table. I can't wait to have him and Typhus and whatnot just run up to something or teleport near something and absolutely slaughternate it, you know what I mean? I think... yeah, that stuff's dry, so I can probably... let's see, do I want to mix a little bit of pink, a little bit of that flesh color that I'm using? Put that together. And do just a really quick, really gross, pinky pale dry brush on top of everything. Same with on you, buddy. You deserve it too. Oh, that was way too much. I'll have to knock him back down. Unfortunately, I've had family try to pressure me to go to college, and I only see it as a waste of time, especially since places like mechanics and over blue-collar jobs are extremely short-handed. Yeah, see, that's another thing. Like, it's the same thing because I am a millennial. I'm in my mid-late 30s, and that was like the big message that all millennials were told: go to college, go to college, go to college. And it's just like, what's the point? And it's like, well, especially with how most jobs are raising their requirements, you kind of need to. But at the same time, you're getting decreasing return on investment, so it's like, why fucking bother? And yeah, you're right. Being a mechanic is great. It's incredibly valuable work, and we should treat it as such instead of as one of those, like, quote unquote lower class jobs or whatever the hell you want to call it. And like other blue collar jobs, it's the same thing. But unfortunately, those are the places where people are willing to denigrate the most in their attempt to try and make college sound more profitable. It seems like the only places you can go into now and make a lot of money is friggin' IT or into like really concentrated sciences. I mean, I'm going into IT because it's been something that I've been interested in for decades, and I just never had the courage nor the confidence to actually try it out. But I feel like after being a teacher for a decade, I should have some skills that are transferable. For you right now, you're happy as a line cook. I mean, again, that's another job where you should be paid more than what you are, but that's a whole nother story. Okay, the next thing on this guy, and actually, wow, I'm getting really close to done with him, is I need to do the horns, which I'm probably also going to shortcut because I'm getting lazier by the minute. Oh, it's because it's 6:30 and I'm hungry. I might actually do the horns and the smoke off camera because I need to finagle him in such a way that I don't think I can do with the camera and the light as it is. It's also 6:30, which is, I usually have dinner around 6. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call the stream for this evening. I actually wanted to go to 7, but I'm hungrier than I thought I was. And if that's the case, I'm going to throw you guys over to someone else. Let's see. None of mine are online, so we're going to go into the Warhammer. I mean, I could send you over to Midnight Sumo and you can watch a bunch of fat athletes throw each other because sumo's freaking awesome. But let's see. Ooh, someone's doing a brush commission on some ultramarine eradicators. They've got a lot of viewers though. Let's go somewhere a little smaller. Oh, Isidor's going. Heck yeah. We're going to go to Isidor. He's someone I know. I feel bad because I don't raid very often. I forget because I'm just like, who'd want me to raid with my one person? And then I realize no, it builds community. So we're gonna raid Isidor. Isidor, unless this is another Isidor, in which case we're still gonna raid them. But let's go. We're gonna go ahead and raid the Isidor. Maybe? Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day and rest of your evening, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.